13th, and from 15 games played, this is the lowest they've been since 1986-87. Change of manager, but I'm afraid their troubles continue. Spurs dropping by virtue of goal difference today. Big climbers, Brentford again, Aston Villa into the top 6 and Nottingham Forest into 5th place in the Premier League. And really, you have to say they're only a couple of wins from forgetting about relegation altogether and concentrating again on next season. A European charge is on the way for them, and tomorrow there is a London theme to Super Sunday with the likes of Chelsea and Arsenal hoping to make hay.
Join us today on Telegram for free and enjoy the Premier League. Don't miss out. Link in description below.
Think about and process after that. What are your immediate thoughts?
Yeah, it was a tough game. We start the two halves really bad, and this is really hard in this context to pass some calm to the players to continue to do the game we should do. We tried in the end with not a lot of quality, but with a lot of heart. We try it, not in the best way, but one game we suffer a goal. We try continue our game, we draw, and then after the half time, suffering 2 goals like that in this context is really hard. But they managed to score one. We try it. We do strikers inside the box, but we couldn't do it in the end.
You said not a lot of quality tonight. Why was that missing?
It's a little bit a low block, and we need more time to put the positionings. If you see our first goal was a good combination between the players. I think we after the first goal we had a good moment in the game with a lot of players near the box creating chances, and then we block a little bit when the ball was in the centre backs in the end of the first half. The second half is like suffering 2 goals, and then we go forward without a lot of thinking in the place. Is a tough context, but we have to address that also. But we have to understand that this is a long journey, and we continue to do the job.
So corners are obviously an issue right now, certainly this week. How do you go about addressing that? And what do you think's happening? Is that the players having to adjust to a slightly different setup, a way of defending, or just individual errors?
No, I think it's not individual. It's all the team. Of course, we suffered 3 goals in 2 games of set pieces, and a lot of problems in set pieces. We have to improve in every area of the game. In these 2 games, we spend a lot of time there, and we have to do better in every aspect of the game to win matches.
I wanted to ask you about substitutions as well. You made 5 during the second half. Double defensive change at one point, which is quite unusual to see, and then Bruno comes off not too long after he's got you sort of back in the match, which was surprising. What was you thinking?
Bruno was too tired, and I want Mason Mount to play that position of the second midfielder that opens a little bit on the left for Josh play inside with Rasmus to have some combinations. Then Lenny Yoro has to go off in that minute because we cannot put them in all the game. And Nus is the guy that can control better with the ball, playing like more a right back to help Ahmad and Rashford. And then we put Harry Maguire because of the set pieces to control better the Hood was winning all the first balls, and the only way to attack Nottingham was transitions and long balls for winning the second ball. And you can see that when Harry was in the game, he won all the first ball. So it's like sometimes you want to attack or play better. It doesn't mean that you have to put just strikers. It's a combination of everybody.
And just on Mason Mount, we were sat right near you, and you were giving him really intense instructions just before he came on. I just wonder what were you after from him, and what were you seeing in the game at that point that you wanted more of?
Yeah, we didn't work in this position with two strikers. I just want him to be to go on the pitch with a very clear idea what to do, because when you have time, it's just a substitution of position, and you understand that position was a little bit different from a natural midfielder.
And lastly, you knew nights like this will come in, didn't you? You said there'd be a storm, that you would suffer, that in some games you'd be found out. So is this a disappointing night, but on the journey, I think you said, not really a surprise?
It's not a surprise, because we come in the middle of a lot of games, but we already knew that, and we have to, in all the journey, if you have a little of experience in football, you understand these moments. It's really disappointed for the fans. It's really hard to see these kind of games after so many times with the disappointments. But we are here to do the job, and we'll continue the same way, doing the same things, and we are going to improve the team.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
4 days this week. What do you think he would have learned, Phil, from these 2 defeats?
Look, I think he's got a clear identity of the way he wants to play. I think he's got a clear message of how he wants every individual player to be, and in and out, in possession, out of possession. That will take time, of course. He's alluded to the fact that it's going to take time to implement his style and the way he wants to go about things. But I think when you strip it back and the principles never change, whichever system you're going to play, whichever formation you're going to play. But I do think, if you're going to concede goals like they have and set plays, they're going to find it increasingly difficult.
It may sound like a silly question, Jamie, but how important is actually, as part of this process, he's trying to learn about his team, he's trying to instill all this new information, but how important is he actually wins in these early stages as well?
Well, of course it is, but there is actually a world where if he would have come in, we will talk about a manager bounce, and if he'd have come in and they'd have gone 5 games on the bounce, winning every game 2, 3, 4-0, I think it would have papered over a lot of the cracks because he wouldn't have learned. So probably the best thing that can be happening right now is to see the weaknesses, is to see the fragility in the team where they're not good enough defensively, not good enough going forward. Then he needs time, but at risk of repeating myself, he needs more time than anybody other manager, because under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they were inconsistent. Under Ten Hag, they were inconsistent. And not that Eric Ten Hag was the right man, I think we all figured that by the end, but he looks like he has something, he has a style and a way of playing, but he's going to need time to get to see which players are with me, which players want to run for me, which players are disciplined and want to live like footballers and be a professional and play for a club of the magnitude. He said it this week, didn't he? He said, look, we're a huge club, but we're a big club, but we haven't got big players. And that's what it looks like. So that I always feel when a manager comes in, don't get fooled by it. And probably the fact they're getting bad results is not great for the fans. They want to see him winning straight away. But at least he'll know now who's with him, who's good enough, who isn't. And he will learn a lot more quickly by what's happened at the moment than he will if he'll get fooled by a couple of wins. If they turned it around today and win 4-3, it'd have been like, cool, what a great result. But are we still that good?
Do you think he would have been surprised, Phil, by the scale of what he's taken on? I think you said it when we were watching the game, Jamie. Every result is news for Manchester United, whether they win or they lose.
Listen, becoming the manager of Manchester United is a mammoth task. Ever since Sir Alex Ferguson left, they've had managers come in who have tried to replicate that or come close to that, and it's been very difficult. A new manager comes in, you always want to give them time, you always want to give them, the time to develop the squad, the team. But I like the way he conducts himself. I like the way he speaks. He's confident. He's got this aura about him where he knows what he wants and where he wants to go. So, listen, I think time on the training pitch to implement the way he wants to build up in possession, to be out of possession. I think you've seen clips and little moments in games where you're thinking, okay, you can see the structures there. You can see in possession where they're a transition. They look a bit more sharper. But I think for now it's about putting that package together, putting that complete performance together to try and really salvage something from the season.
I suppose my question is, when is he going to get that time? Because at the moment, certainly he's got a game every 3 or 4 days, and that's going to carry on with another, what have we got, 6 before the end of December. So could you actually, can he actually use these games to practice things as well, to try players out in different positions. He's certainly rotating his side, 4 or 5 changes per game.
Yeah, he has rotated, but I think he's come in and realised that, you know, they've had the amount of injuries that they sustained last season. I think he's realised that he has to manage everyone, manage the loads, the training loads, especially in games. There's so many games coming up in the Europa League Conference and the Premier League and the Cup games, so you've got to really manage the players, and I think he's doing that, but probably suffering from a little bit of that as well.
There are some big ones on the horizon as well. I don't know if we can have another quick look at those fixtures, but there's the Pilsen one, and then it's the Manchester derby. But after that, it's the Carabao Cup as well.
Yeah,
you're in the quarter-final stage now. You're not far away from the possibility of silverware. So would that stand out almost as the one, even with the Manchester derby looming, the one he would really want to win?
Well, can you nick a trophy this season and get a feel-good factor? You're still creating history at the club that's obviously won so many trophies in the past, that none of them are easy fixtures. When you're in good form, it's hard, the Premier League. But the first one he'll look at is obviously he'll adjust his squad accordingly away at Victoria Pleasant, and then he's got Man City, where that's the first big, what you say, game where he'll look at and go, what, I'm starting to get my squad now. This is who I need to be fit, who I need to be playing. And then he can maybe take a little bit more for that. Probably is going to be a best 11 with the players that he has right now. He's a fitness manager. At Sporting, his team run the most in the league.
2 wins from 5 for Ruben Amorim. He said it's a long journey ahead, which it will be, because he's still getting to know this team and still getting to know his players. What do you think he can achieve with this club this season, with this set of players? Because he does say it's a long journey, and it feels like there's still a lot of work that needs to go on.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say is he's a great communicator. He's a great talker, and that's even off the back of a loss. So I think it was interesting, he said, we tried, but without much quality. You know, that's a pretty
big statement.
Pretty big statement also from the manager. So it's going to take some time to figure it out. But the thing I like is he's really open, he's really honest, and I think he's quite critical when he needs to be. So he realises they got to up the standards. But what are they, 12th, 13th?
13th.
13th. I mean, the dream was probably to get to Europe, but that's looking pretty unlikely. They need to go on a little run here. Obviously, City next, that's...
With Europe in between as well.
Yeah, but they'll win the game in Europe. You know, that shouldn't really be an issue. But then obviously City. So I think the fixtures-wise, you know, the Bournemouth, with Bournemouth Wolves coming up, you know, they are winnable ones, but they need to find a way to get a few more wins and climb up that league table.
They certainly